I highly, highly recommend, if you don't get to do it on the cruise, at Aulani, they do a very intro ukulele lesson. And it was the thing that first made me fall in love with the instrument. And then when we came home, I bought a ukulele in Hawaii and then took lessons at home.
It's a lesson like a test drive for a car, right?
Yeah, it's not but they do teach you. They teach you 4 chords, and as anyone knows,
Most popular music can be played using 4 chords.
Exactly.
Welcome back, everybody, to this week's episode of the DCL Duo Podcast, brought to you by My Path Unwinding Travel. And Sam, do your jingle. Go for it.
Simply the best, better than all the rest.
There you go. All right. Live jingle, avoid copyright. Parody song. All right. This week's listener review comes from... Now, Sam, I'm a little worried. I got to put it out to the listeners. I do not have a good method of tracking which reviews we've read. And so each week I scroll back. I think we've already read this one. Did we already do Robbie Abney's review, Sam?
I think we did Robbie's review.
So do I, which makes me think that the one we read on the last show is probably one that we have already done as well. You know what? We're just gonna pick it up from here. It's this is just what's gonna happen. And we will get to the other reviews as we get to them. So this week's review comes from Robbie Abney, potentially a repeat review. It reads, "Must in all caps listen to DCL podcast ! 5 stars, all caps, every time. I love how balanced they are in their reviews and discuss both the good and areas that could be better equally. Couldn't suggest this podcast enough for anyone that loves all things with a little more sprinkle of DCL." So thank you, Robbie. We really appreciate you out there. It was great. I think we've met Robbie a couple times now, maybe. Didn't we sail with them a couple times? Yeah.
We didn't sail with them. We actually haven't met them in person. We've only met them virtually, Brian. They've been on the show.
In the parks or the show at one point. The parks with the
no, we've met them virtually a number of times. Lovely. The Abneys are fantastic. And Robbie is, if for anyone who likes to see, some of the Marvel Day at Sea posters and stuff for DCL, really anything Marvel, if it's got Captain America on it, you may be looking at our friend Robbie. He's no longer a friend of Cap, but he was early on in DCL. Earlier on in DCL history.
But he is also no Kroger Cap.
No, he's no Kroger Cap.
He's no Kroger Cap. Yeah, there you go. That's what we like to call the what is it? I guess they call them the Thunderbolts now, or the New Avengers, the Captain America that plays in that one, or I forget what his superhero name is, but it's the guy who's Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn's son. There you go. There you go. All right. Well, Sam,
I don't even remember his name.
Do you want to introduce our guest and our fun topic for today?
Yeah, we're so excited to welcome back to the show, Carin. Carin, it's been a while since you've been on the show. For those listening and not watching, it's not Carin Shelton from our show sponsor, My Path Unwinding. It is Carin Phillips, who is a friend and Patreon of the show, who's been listening to us, I think, from the very beginning or very close to it. Carin, am I right?
That's right.
Yeah, and I feel like
I don't know how people found us in the beginning. I honestly have
she's
no
been with
idea.
us on Facebook for as long as we've had a Facebook group as well. I think she was one of our founding members of our Facebook group. And so, yeah, we're so happy to have you back on the show, Carin.
Oh, well, thanks for welcoming me.
Yeah. Well, we gotta refresh our audience because it's been a while since you've been on. You gotta remind folks. I mean, you are I'm going to call you an ultra pearl. You're not yet a fence person. I say a fence person. You're not 50 yet.
Plank. Nope. You may hold planks at home, but you don't have a plank on Castaway Key.
Right. Yeah. Planks at Castaway. Right. But you're ahead of us in your Castaway, your Castaway numbers. So why don't you tell folks how many times you've sailed with Disney and when you started sailing with Disney and which ships you've covered, which I know the answer to all these things, but our audience does not.
Okay, so we started sailing in 2016. That's me and my son, mostly. Sometimes we bring one of his sisters with us as well. I have 4 older kids, and 2 of them have sailed with us. We have sailed 37 times now. By the end of the year, we'll be at 41.
Oh my goodness. So you're really close to that plank number. That's 50 is that plank number. Yeah.
We're close, but I don't think it's happening next year or even the year after. But we'll see. Things happen.
Well, you have sailed a ton this year, but of course you've sailed a ton in general, and you've been on all the ships. Is that right?
That's right. And we'll be on the Maiden with you on the Destiny.
Yay! I love it. Yes, we'll get to meet in real life. I love that. That always makes me so happy when we get to meet folks that we have there's not, I wouldn't say every person who listens to our show that I know who they are, certainly, but there's there's folks who've been with us from the beginning, or folks who are very active in our Facebook group, who we interact with a lot on social media, that I know, right? Like, I have a relationship with you. And so it's like when I finally get to meet you in person, it's just such a wonderful, lovely thing, because it's this relationship
Full
from.
circle.
Yeah, exactly. Full circle. I love that. Awesome. Now, remind me how old your son is.
He is 22, and we started cruising when he was 11. Or maybe 12. He may have been 12 anyway.
Awesome. Now, this last 2 months, tell folks what you have done in 7 weeks. How many sailings did you do in the last 7 weeks?
5 total. And 2 of them were more than 7 days each.
Now, how did you plan this much sailing in that period of time? And what possessed you to do that and spend so little time at home?
So Malcolm had been wanting to do a Halloween on the high seas sailing. And Halloween is not particularly one of my favorite things to celebrate, but we haven't done a Halloween sailing since maybe 2017 or 18. So really, really early on. And I was looking at what our options would be if we went over the Labor Day weekend, to kind of use that as a day that I didn't have to take vacation. I also have the ability to work remotely for a certain number of days a year, and I had a few days left still. So I found that the Wish was going to be having their first Halloween sailing of the season at the end of Labor Day weekend of that week. So I just kind of started stacking backward from there, and we found ourselves going on the oldest ships of every class. So the Magic and then the Dream and then the Wish. And honestly, I didn't think I'd ever be on the Magic again after our last sailing on the Magic. But happy to report that I'm looking forward to booking the Magic again. We had such a great time.
Oh, I love that. Now, I got to tell folks, you did a side to side to side, and you didn't just do it
I think
out
we
of
give
the
that a new
same
name. We need to call it the DCL Electric Slide.
electric slide. Oh, I like that. Boogie, woogie, woogie. Yeah, you totally, you went a little crazy there, because you went Port Canaveral. You mentioned you
But
were
only a little. Only a
just
little.
only a little crazy. I mean, only crazy.
Our brand of crazy.
Exactly, our brand of crazy. I'm all in on this brand of crazy. You went on the Magic. You went from Port Canaveral, but on the Dream, you went from Fort Lauderdale, and then you went back to Port Canaveral for the Wish. Now we're not, it's funny. People are going to think, oh, we're going to cover 3 cruises. No, we're actually not even going to talk about these 3 cruises today, because you then only a couple weeks later went on the Wonder out of Vancouver to Alaska, and then stayed on the Wonder to go all the way to Hawaii. So you had 5 cruises in just these 7 weeks. But I do want to touch on the side to side to side, because that's a lot of travel and going between the ports. And I want people to understand how you did it, and sort of the timing in between those sailings, because we do get a lot of questions about side to side, whether you're at the same port or different ports. What we talk about side to side is you're switching ships. You're not going back to back on the same ship. And that could be, as I said, out of the same port, but just a different terminal, or it could be out of a different port, because you've got, Fort Lauderdale and Port Canaveral are not, I mean, they're a couple hours away, but they're not, they're in the same state, they're on the same coast, all of that. Tell us how you did all that logistics.
It was actually easier than I expected it to be, because we opted to do a rental car. So when we when we disembarked from the Magic, we were picked up by the rental agency. They took us to their store, basically. We got a car and we headed south. And that was on, I want to say, a Sunday. So the Sunday before Labor Day. And next morning, we took that car back to the agency, but now in Port Canaveral, and they shuttled us to the ship. And when we came back, when we disembarked, I had actually booked our rental pickup from the airport instead of being from, but I know. So I did have to get an Uber. Won't make that mistake the next time. We had to get an Uber to the airport to pick up our car and then drove that back to the agency up in Port Canaveral, and they shuttled us again. So there was a bit of an unexpected hiccup on this very last leg. As we pulled in, there was a shuttle that was getting ready to leave, and they said, "Oh, just go in and grab your paperwork, leave your bags here. We're going to load them in the van, and then we're going to take you on the shuttle." And so I ran inside, came back out, and the shuttle was gone.
Was gone with your bags.
With our bags.
Oh my God, what happened?
And I could not make the people understand, like, you took our bags. And they're like, no. Your shuttle is over here. I'm like, no. The shuttle you told me to get on is gone, because this is a different type of van that's here now. Turns out the shuttle that they sent us on made it to the ship before our bags did. So we just kind of waited on the curb for a few minutes, and their shuttle waited with us until their second shuttle ran in and dropped off, because apparently they were dropping off passengers at other ships before coming to the Wish.
Oh my God. That would be terrifying though, because then you're like, am I going to have my clothes for my third sailing, or am I going to be naked?
The shops.
You know now that the Disney Cruise Line shops sell things like underwear, so they are equipped for these kinds of moments.
Yeah, they do. But, there's like one kind, right? And it's not like they have a bajillion different sizes and things like that. So whatever they've got is what you're stuck buying if you are stuck without luggage. So yeah, that would be kind of scary. Well, okay, we got to jump over to flying, of course. Going out of Vancouver on the Wonder to Alaska and then to Hawaii, because that's a 3-week trip, right? A 3-week cruise, really, because it's back to back. It's 1 week in Alaska and then almost 2 weeks to Hawaii. I gotta ask, how did you pack for that trip? Because I think that's going to be the hardest thing. Like, I think the planning side of things, that's actually, to me, that seems like the hardest thing to plan.
So I didn't do a great job, as it turns out.
Tell me what do you mean by that? And
so Malcolm and I are usually carry-on only. We travel carry-on only, no matter how long our trips are. But that's because we are normally going to one climate. And so this time we were going to 2 very different climates. And I realized probably 3 days before that carry-on only was not going to work. So I pulled out our giant standard size luggage, packed that full of all our cold weather clothing so we could stay warm, and off we went. But I did not pack things like our hand warmers, left those at home. Did not pack our wool tennis shoes. Those sat at home in the closet. Didn't pack my waterproof boots. Can't imagine why I thought I wouldn't need them.
Yeah. This is a PSA. If you are going to Alaska, I don't care what time of year it is, it's unpredictable on the weather. And so if you have some kind of waterproof shoe, it doesn't necessarily have to be a rain boot, but if you have a waterproof shoe, you got a Gore-Tex jacket, right? You got maybe some extra warm socks. Like, bring those things. You might need summer clothes also, right? Because you might have an 80-degree day in Alaska in the summer. Of course, if you're sailing in Alaska, the summertime is when you're going to sail. But yeah, you need like, that's why everybody says dress like an onion, right? You need these different layers of things. But waterproof is, I think, for me, that's like number 1 on the list, right? Because that's actually what's going to make you colder, is if you're wet. Being wet is the most uncomfortable thing in my opinion.
And I had heard, layers. And growing up in Seattle, like, I know that it's all about the layers. So I had so many layers. There was definitely no shortage of clothing happening in Alaska. But looking back, I definitely should have focused more on waterproof than I did.
And that's just a good reminder, I think, for anyone. Like that's you, and you may end up with sunny skies and never need any of the waterproof things. But like, if you bring them, you're going to end up with it'll be dry. But if you don't bring them, it's going to be wet, right?
Yeah. And honestly, the days that we were there, we didn't get a whole lot of rain, like even just that misty rain that they sometimes get. But the fact was that the ground was wet. So 2 minutes after stepping off the ship, our feet were wet. So live and learn. And next time, 'cause there will be a next time we will have our waterproof boots and shoes.
Well, you still though were able to pack for both climates as long. I mean, but I think that just the note of you're probably not going to be able to do carry-on only if you're going to more than one climate. It's just not really doable. Now, did you do laundry on the ship? I'm imagining you would in that period of time. Yeah.
We typically do laundry every 4 days. That seems to be about the amount of time it takes for us to build up enough clothing that needs to be washed to make it logical. So yeah, about every 4 days.
Yeah, that's about what I do on the ships as well. Like even if we're only sailing on a week-long cruise, I just well, one, I'm a chronic overpacker, but even still, I still need to do laundry in like 4 days. And then otherwise I'd be even worse, right? Like if I'd bring like 3 suitcases if I didn't do the laundry after 4 days. And so, but I also don't like going home with like a full suitcase full of dirty laundry if I can avoid it. So we'll like, if I end up with 1 suitcase of dirty laundry between the 3 of us, that's okay. I'll do that when we get home. But at least the other 2 suitcases have all clean clothes in that I just have to put away when I get home. Well, I want to talk, you did Alaska and Hawaii. You said you hadn't done Alaska before, but I remember we talked to you about Hawaii before, if I'm remembering correctly.
We've done Hawaii. We actually did the same itinerary last year and it left on the same day. So like I knew what weather to expect. It was when I saw that come back up and I realized, ooh, we could do this back to back. It just seemed like the logical thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and you're West Coast based, so at least it's not, flying back. Well, flying up to Vancouver is not too bad. And then, of course, flying back from Hawaii is not so bad either. So even though it's, long travel to get to Hawaii, it's all kind of, it's all worth it. It's like Disney math. It's all worth it in the end. Well, I want to talk some highlights from Alaska, and then we'll talk some highlights from your Hawaii cruise, because obviously we wouldn't be able to cover everything you did on these 2 cruises in one show. It would just be impossible. But what were the favorite ports and excursions for you and Malcolm in Hawaii? Or sorry, not in Hawaii, in Alaska.
In Alaska, we actually took advice from a podcast you had aired a couple months earlier, and we changed the excursions that we booked based on your guest's recommendation. So we ended up doing the train that was paired with the sled dogs and gold panning. That was so fun. It was way more fun than I expected. And the puppies were a lot younger than I expected. I expected these puppies to be a few months old. No, they were puppies.
We have heard such great things. I don't even. I think we had a couple of guests who even commented on that excursion. Of course, we did the train and the gold panning, but we didn't do the sled dogs with that one, because that one you go to the sled dog like camp where you're on a dirt track. You're not on snow if you're doing, the meet and greet with the dogs and all that, because you're not on the glacier and there isn't snow there, obviously, at the camp that they're at. But like we've heard that that's a great excursion, and the dogs are generally very friendly, and that the folks there are fantastic. So definitely sounds like a fantastic excursion. I'm glad you guys booked it. Did Malcolm like the puppies?
Not as much as I liked the puppies, that's for sure. They were so cuddly. He's a little apprehensive of dogs in general. So he was willing to pet the puppy, but he wanted me to hold it. And that was fine with me. And at the end, they do count the puppies. So they knew that two were missing. They waited until, people coughed up the extra two puppies.
Oh, they were hiding. People were trying to pocket puppies and walk off with them.
Sam would have had a puppy stuffed down our coat for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So when we didn't get to like touch the puppies that we got to see the puppies on the glacier, but they were in like a fenced off area and like they were born on the glacier. Like the puppies had never touched dirt before. And so they said it was going to be really funny whenever they take them back to, back to down south, I'll say, but to like the continental U.S. or even just to further down south.
Well,
in
they said is
Alaska.
they get to take the helicopter back, and I had this great image in my head of like all the puppies sitting there with their seatbelts on and headphones on, just like riding and looking around like we are. But no, that's not how it works.
No, they're in the carriers. But no, they said that it's funny. It's like if you've ever had a dog, when the first time your dog touches snow, the dog is like very weirded out. They're like, I have like, it's just this new experience for them. They said the same thing happens with these puppies, but it's for like with dirt the first time they touch dirt, because they've been running on snow and ice for their whole lives, which is just a couple months at that point. But they're so cute. What were your other excursions in Alaska?
So we did a bear excursion in Ketchikan, the one where you're on an elevated platform.
Yep, that's the one we did.
Oh my gosh, we saw so many bears, including one that was, it felt like it was just arm's length away from us, sleeping on a log. It was just an amazing, amazing time there.
Yeah. And that excursion, I think they only make it available in August and September because that's the best time, at least in that location, that's the best time for seeing bears because it's their feeding season, right? It's their time. They're starting to fatten themselves up before the winter, before hibernation comes. And they need to so that's their the prime time for them to be eating all that salmon. And that's where they're going, where that overlook is, the platforms that we were at the same location, I'm sure, because it's sort of the classic Ketchikan bear excursion. Yeah. And there's these fisheries, right? And so it's the salmon runs are right there and it's shooting fish in a barrel. They're literally their salmon are everywhere. And so they're just feeding and feeding and feeding. But I would also highly recommend. We saw 7 bears when we were there. It was just fantastic. What a great excursion. And yeah, you feel like you're arm's length from them. But like I said, it's only, I think, August, September for that excursion. So you got to be going later in the season. You can do, there are other excursions that are geared towards seeing bears, but I don't know, earlier in the season, I don't know how, what percentage of the time they see bears and things like that, just because it matters what season, of course it is.
Yeah. And because those things are not in captivity, they really need them to come to feed on the salmon, I think.
Exactly. You gotta find them where they're hanging out. You go find the bears. That their bears are not finding you unless it's in behind a gate at a zoo. So tell us, what was you did Juneau was your other port. What was your other excursion?
So this was probably the best excursion that we did and one that I would definitely want to repeat. I'd repeat the bear excursion too, because I think it would be different every time you go. We had booked a small vessel, 6-passenger vessel to do whale watching with Harv and Marv. And when we were in Skagway the day before Juneau, they called us to let us know that they were going to have to cancel, but that they could put us on a larger vessel. And I had really wanted to be on a smaller vessel so we could, really hear some narration from the captain or whoever would be there to, kind of tell us what we're seeing. So I said, let me think about it, and did some quick Googling to see, because I had a suspicion the weather is why we were canceled on a small vessel, because the weather was pretty choppy. The water was pretty choppy at that point. And while I was Googling, first of all, Google did inform me that yes, whales do like to come out and play in bad weather.
Yeah, that was a smart thing to look up, though, right? I don't know if whales are out there when the weather's bad.
Right. I thought, if we're not going to see whales, we could just detour to do something else. And then while I was doing that search, I remembered that I had booked with Harv and Marv because the original provider that I wanted to book with had been full on the day that the ship would be there. So I reached out to Jaylene's of Alaska to see if by chance maybe she had room. And turns out she did. I think everyone had canceled for the day we were going to be there, but she felt comfortable going out on a smaller vessel still. And being out there, I had no worries about her control of the vessel or anything. Yes, it was rocky, but yeah, it was fine. And I did explain to her, that Malcolm has some balance issues, and she made sure that we were on her boat because she has a whole fleet of boats and captains. She made sure we were on her boat. She took great care of us. I didn't need to bring binoculars. She had self-focusing binoculars. She had snacks. She had blankets. You could close the door so you could stay warm and cozy inside, or you could go out the back and, really get the full Alaska experience in the back. We saw bald eagles, more orcas than I can count. And we were the only boat there for the longest time. And when the other boats started coming, she said, let's get out of here and go look for some humpback whales. So she took us to the area. She grew up in Juneau. She has had her own vessel since she was 11 years old, or no, I think 10 years old. But her parents started letting her captain it on her own when she was 11. And so she has grown up knowing these whales by name. So she took us, I think it was Sasha that we saw, and Cha-Cha is Sasha's baby that was there with her. So we hung out with Sasha and Cha-Cha for a little while. Then we scooted on to go see if we could find others. We found Magma and Ash. That's a mother and her calf as well.
Oh.
And they were really, really playful, jumping, splashing, rolling on their backs.
Oh my God. That sounds incredible, Carin. Oh my
We saw
God.
seals. We saw it was just an amazing day. It was only 4 hours. It felt like the full day. It felt like we were out there all day, and it was incredible.
Now, when you say small vessel, like how many guests? I obviously there's some crew, but how many crew and how many guests are on that vessel?
There was one crew, so it was Captain
Oh, so
Jade.
it's just her. Wow,
It's just her, and she kept us informed and showed us all the technology that she was using. She had this device that allowed her to see where the whale's food was in the water. So she could kind of see how far they were diving and how long it might take for them to come back up. She knows these whales really, really, really well. But in total, there were 6 passengers. There were 2 from Royal Caribbean, the 2 of us from Disney, and then 2 locals that booked with her.
Oh, cool. Okay, Brian, write down Jaylene because we were dead set on doing the helicopter, out of Juneau when we went this last time, but we want to go back to Alaska. And to me, I feel like this would be the way to do it. Like, cause we did get to see tons of whales from the ship, but we didn't get to go up close to them. Right. And this, you can be like right in the middle of the pods. And also I will say from the ship, we mostly, from what I could tell, I think we mostly, or maybe even exclusively saw humpbacks. I don't think we actually saw any orcas from where we were. I mean, it's possible some of the ones in the distance were orcas, but I think it was a very large pod of humpbacks that we were kind of driving through for like hours and hours, or were coming or were, swimming with us basically for several hours. And I would really love to, we didn't do any whale watching boat excursions this time around. My mom did. And they saw, several whales. I think they mostly saw humpbacks as well, but I would love to, and I know we can do it from Seattle. You can do whale watching from Seattle and go and see the orcas in the right time of year. But it is a quintessential, of course, Alaska thing. And who wouldn't want to see, pods of orcas and pods of humpbacks and bald eagles and, whatever, and seals and all of that. So fantastic.
Oh, and I think we saw 2 glaciers as well as she had us out touring. I think one was Eagle Glacier. Of course, they were from a distance. And I think we saw Mendenhall Glacier as well.
Probably that's the one that is sort of that most people will, get to see from, nearby or out just outside of Juneau, obviously. But yeah, so that would be pretty likely. Well, that sounds amazing, Carin. Did Malcolm enjoy Alaska as much as you did?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. We also were looking for Coda on the ship.
Yes, Coda the bear. So for those who don't know, Coda is from Brother Bear. He's a character from the movie Brother Bear. And the only time you can spot him on the ship, meaning as a character, is in Alaska. And there's usually 2 days that he comes out. One is Glacier Day and one is Ketchikan Day. Did you find Coda?
And we saw Coda from a distance every single time. So I know we're going to do another cruise to Alaska. It will likely be with Disney. So we are going to still be hunting for Coda to get our photos. Every time we saw little brown feet walking away, it was like, oh, run as fast as you can. We couldn't catch him. So he's elusive.
I'm going to give them the pro tip that I understand is Coda does not spend his time on the top deck. Coda spends his time on the promenade deck, on deck 4. So I don't know that I can't say he doesn't make appearances on the top deck, but I know that he makes at least 2 appearances on the promenade deck, and one of them is on Glacier Day and one of them is on Ketchikan Day. I will say on Ketchikan Day, for us, it was right before we docked in Ketchikan. And I was on a bear hunt because this reminds me of the book I'm Going on a Bear Hunt that we used to read to Nathan when he was little. And maybe that's why he loves bears, because we used to read the book I'm Going on a Bear Hunt. But he was, funny enough, he was on a hunt for real bears, but I was on a hunt for Coda on the ship. I will say I did not see Coda on Glacier Day because that was such a busy day and we had gone out on the glacier boat excursion and all that. And so I was determined to see him on Ketchikan Day. And I did get some clues. I said to one of the cast members that was, a character handler, and said, if I were going to see bears today, but on the ship, where and when might I have a chance of seeing a bear? And they gave me a range of when I might see a bear. And so I was there on the promenade deck. I didn't know which side. And so I was on one side. And then I was like, let me just pop over to the other side. And there was Coda already taking a picture with somebody else. And I waited and I got my picture with Coda. Yeah.
Worth it.
So,
Totally worth it.
Totally worth it. Totally worth it.
I mean, I hear if you carry picnic baskets around too, you get to see some bears. And don't try the method of starting a fire, though. Smokey the Bear does not show up.
Yes. And only you can prevent forest
Yes,
fires.
because only you can prevent them. Yes,
that's right. Well, Carin, tell us. Let's talk a little bit about the back-to-back process, because it's been a while. I mean, we've done it, but we know people ask about this all the time. It's been a while since we've talked about it on the show. Explain to folks what they can expect if they are doing a back-to-back cruise, because I would say it's pretty much the same process no matter which port you're out of, except the location might be different of where you're waiting. But tell people how this works.
Okay. So just for background, we have done several back-to-back cruises, and people sometimes get the idea that they're going to be off the ship for just a few minutes. And I really think it's more accurate to look at that as being at least an hour to an hour and a half that you're going to be off the ship. So keep that in mind. And
yeah, sometimes it can be even longer than that. Sometimes it can be even like 2 hours, and it's really customs dependent. Disney doesn't really have control over that.
I agree. I absolutely agree. So this time we were doing back-to-back on the same ship, but we were not staying in the same room. Sometimes we're able to stay in the same room. Sometimes we're not. Our friend was joining us, or maybe I should say we were joining her. She was coming to board on the ship that day. We were moving into the room that she had reserved. So we had to pack up all of our things, but we didn't set them outside. We left them in our room. And now here is something. I forgot our luggage tags for both cruises. So when we showed up for Alaska, we tend to show up when our rooms are going to be available. So it was no problem. We walked on, took our stuff straight to the room. But on that turnover day, they were expecting luggage tags on our luggage so that they would know where to move it. They just gave us some of the tags that you would normally use for debarkation. And we wrote on there, move to whatever the stateroom was. And so they moved our bags for us. We hopped off the ship, walked up to the train station to meet our friend, help her come back to the ship. We stopped for coffee. We stopped to talk to two friends that we met on the street. You two separate friends. Oh, she needed to run into the drugstore because she thought she had forgotten something. So she ran in. We made that stop. We came back, and the people doing back to back were still waiting to board. And so it was well over an hour that we had been off the ship at that point, and we got to line up and get right back on the ship with them.
Yeah. Well, and for folks who haven't done it before, you have to do check-in again. So you oftentimes what they will do for debarkation from the first cruise is they will tell you to go to a specific lounge on the ship. Like Azure Lounge is very typical on the Wonder as the location. It might be another one, but oftentimes they'll tell you go to Azure at 9:30 in the morning, right? Like, and then that way they can do the room turnover. They know you're out of your room, and then as a group, once you're all there, they escort you off of the ship. And then you go through the check-in process, again, and then you at some point are let back on the ship. And now that is what we're talking about, this hour to an hour and a half. It can be longer, it can be shorter, but a lot of it is really out of Disney's control. It's when is either U.S. Customs or in this case Canadian Customs, when are they clearing the ship for reboarding, right? And then you'll be the first group back on the ship. And if you were in the same room, you can access your room immediately. You don't have to wait. You just have to go under the rope, right? If you are changing rooms, your room might not be ready. Your room typically won't be ready. I mean, they might try and get your room ready a little early because they know you're back to back, but typically you're going to wait until everyone's room is ready, which is usually 1:30. But your luggage will obviously already be there, waiting for you, either outside, typically outside your room, but it might be inside your room. It just depends on if the room steward was able to get in.
They move hanging things directly to your new room, Sam. Don't forget. So they will hang stuff up in the closet.
Yeah, so that is one thing. If you didn't want, so if you're moving rooms, and you have a really nice room steward, they will usually say if you want to leave stuff on hangers, they'll, rather than putting that in your suitcase, everything else has to go back in the suitcase, but things that are hung up, they're willing to move for you and just put it in the closet in the new room. But it's a matter of
experience where room stewards act like they've never heard of that option. Be prepared that you might impact.
That's why I said that you have to have a nice room steward, because I don't think everybody offers to do that, because it is obviously more difficult. I mean, it's more work for them, right?
It may have also been offered to us because we were in concierge when we've sailed back to back.
Yeah, that is true. We've done it. Yeah, we have sailed most of the time when we've sailed back to back. It's been in the same room. I think there was only one time where we were changing rooms, and I think actually on one sailing we were in concierge, and the other sailing we weren't in concierge. And so yeah, that may have had to do with the offering. All right, well, you've reboarded the ship and you're sailing to beautiful Hawaii from Vancouver, British Columbia. What were the seas like? That's one of those one of those sailings that can be a little bit rougher. You're sailing across the Pacific, well, not fully all the way across, but a good ways across the Pacific to Hawaii. Funny, you get to go to the two states, the last two states to join the Union, the only two states in non-contiguous
states,
U.S. In a week's time, you're in both of them. That's kind of a fun contrast. But yeah, how is the seas getting out there to Hawaii?
For us, we had no difficulty at all. I don't know that we've ever been seasick on a cruise. So there was a little bit of rocking, nothing that ruined our day for sure.
Well, and you chose a small boat excursion in Alaska on a day with rough weather. So that kind of helps to inform me also you are not seasickness people. Yeah. So, because that's the only thing that gives me pause about some of those smaller boat excursions in Alaska is that I can get quite seasick on smaller boats, even though I'm fine on cruise ships typically. Yeah.
Are you listening to our show because you want to make the most out of your next vacation? Great news, the fabulous team over at My Path Unwinding Travel can help guide you so you don't miss a thing. Their team of professional travel advisors are caring, knowledgeable, and experienced. It's why we use them to book our own travel. My Path Unwinding Travel is an authorized Disney vacation planner, which means they are recognized by Disney for their expertise and service. They have sailed on all the Disney ships, including in concierge, visited the theme parks, adventured with Disney, relaxed at Aulani, and so much more. Whether it's a Disney cruise, a theme park vacation, or Adventures by Disney, or if you are looking to expand beyond the mouse, My Path Unwinding Travel will elevate your next vacation planning experience. Even if you have already booked, reach out for a complimentary consultation to make your vacation even more magical. Ready to talk to the experts? Head over to mypathunwinding.com/DCL Duo or email dclduo@mypathunwinding.com so they know we sent you their way. Thanks, My Path Unwinding, for sponsoring today's show. Now back to the episode.
What were some of the special offerings on board? So this is a great thing about sailing to Hawaii. Those two sailings, the sailing to Hawaii and the sailing back from Hawaii, and also the ones that go to Sydney from Hawaii, they tend to have some special things that happen. Sometimes some special Hawaiian things or just some special performers. I mean, like, tell us. I always love hearing about these cruises. I loved hearing about the one you did previously because they always have just cool stuff going on the ship.
So the standouts on this cruise, I would say, were the person that does the daily presentation on all the sea days. He was a Disney archivist. So he came and talked to us about, how they archive, why they archive, what they're looking to archive. It's surprising to hear all the things they don't archive. I think there's a different department that handles things like film and things like that. So they're really very, very, very selective on the things that they will keep in their archives because they have to store them so protectively.
Yeah. Well, if you think about all of the things like the parks, the films, the costumes, right? Like if you think of all of this, even sheet music, right? Like sheet music is something like the original sheet music for a Sherman Brothers song, right? For example, but think about every song that's been written for a Disney movie or for a Disney theme park ride, right? Or for a Disney parade, right? Like every single song, there's probably original sheet music for, and then there's original costumes for, and there's original, staging and so all of these different props and things that they use, these are all potential things that they could archive. But you're right. I mean, they might archive one thing from a particular show, but there's millions of things that they could archive. Wow. That's awesome. I love those kinds of talks that they do. Did you have special performers on board?
We did have special performers. Are you talking about the Aulani guests?
Oh, I don't know who was on. Yeah.
Who are we talking about,
Yeah,
Carin?
you tell me, Carin. I don't. Sometimes they have Broadway singers. Sometimes they have folks from Hawaii.
Yeah, they definitely had a couple Broadway singers that came on and did some shows for us. But they bring a group from Aulani to come on these cruises because they're Hawaiian cruises and kind of get everybody familiar with Hawaiian culture. And so every evening, I think typically around 10:15 on Pirate Night, I think they did it at 7:30. So in the atrium, you can come and learn about the shaka. You can learn about, oh gosh, I'm drawing a blank on all the other things. Each night is a different topic, but they start by reviewing what have we covered before? Of course, now everything is.
I love that. Well, so different Hawaiian cultural things, right? So do they do storytelling as a part of that? I love one of the things they do at Aulani is, of course, they'll do some storytelling by the pool. They'll tell you about Maui and I don't mean the story of Moana. I mean the legend of Maui in actual Hawaii. And so, yeah, they'll tell you those stories and they'll tell you certain cultural things that have sort of come out of that. And maybe it's the hula, or maybe it's the shaka, or maybe they'll talk to you about making poi, right? Like just different parts of the culture of Hawaii. Love that.
The presentations were shorter than I remembered them being. They were 15-minute presentations, but it was pretty late at night. So it was just the perfect ending to the evening for us. The very last night, I think it was the very last night, they did a longer show that included hula dancing, Tahitian dancing, Maori dancing, or, Maori used the poi balls, right? Malcolm got to get on stage and perform the haka with a select people that joined him up there. So for the rest of the cruise, and by last night, I mean the last sea night, the rest of the cruise, people kept coming up to him and saying, "You did a great job doing the haka. I could never get up there and do that." And we had been doing hula lessons throughout the cruise. They had offered hula lessons, so people that wanted to get up and do the hula could do that. We decided to observe. Because I know people were filming. I was like, no, thanks.
So you're saying Malcolm is braver than you, Carin?
He is absolutely braver than me. Yes.
You won't find me hula dancing either, Sam. So just to be fair, it's not a bravery thing. It's a self-preservation thing. All right.
Exactly. They also offered ukulele lessons. So we got to sit on those. Now, if you want to do those, you have to get there early because the room fills up. There are a limited number of instruments and each lesson progresses. So if you don't get an instrument that first day, it's going to be harder for you to catch up on the second and third, maybe fourth lessons. So you want to prioritize that activity if you're interested in it.
I highly, highly recommend, if you don't get to do it on the cruise, at Aulani, they do a very intro ukulele lesson. And it was the thing that first made me fall in love with the instrument. And then when we came home, I bought a ukulele in Hawaii and then took lessons at home.
It's a lesson like a test drive for a car, right?
Yeah, it's not but they do teach you 4 chords. And as anyone knows,
Most popular music can be played using 4 chords.
Exactly. So if you can play C, G, A, and F, you can play a whole bunch of songs. And so if you play those 4 chords, you can play a bunch of different songs, and that might ignite a passion, a love in that instrument. It did for me. I took lessons for several years. I have paused taking lessons for the last year just because I don't have enough time in my life. If I had unlimited time, I would definitely, it's something I would pick up again because I absolutely love it. I think it's a beautiful instrument. It is, unless you've got really big hands, fat fingers, it's not an instrument for people with fat fingers. But if you have smaller fingers, thinner hands, it's easier to play than the guitar because it's only 4 strings, and it's a beautiful, beautiful sounding instrument. And you can play all kinds of music, from folk music to pop music to rock music. It's just a gorgeous instrument. I love it. Can't say enough good things about the ukulele. It's amazing. Well, Carin, I got to ask about some of these excursions. You got to go 4 stops in Hawaii. Of course, you end in Honolulu. Tell us what you did on those excursion days in Hawaii.
So it's funny because we booked excursions for almost every day that we were in Alaska. But in Hawaii, we booked rental cars.
Oh, nice. I love that.
Our first stop was actually Honolulu. So we just walked off the ship. We actually ended up meeting up with some crew members from the concierge crew that we had sailed with last year. And they were like, what are you doing? We don't know what to do with, just a few hours in Honolulu. I said, we're just taking the bus to Waikiki. And they didn't have internet connection. I guess their phones weren't set up to have cell service in Hawaii. It really surprised me considering they had been in Alaska all summer. But I said, you can tag along with us. So we can show you how to get there. And so Malcolm and I spent the day in Waikiki, had some good food, caught some good waves, and just had a fun day at the beach. And then I'm trying to think, the next I think maybe the next day was Kauai. I love Kauai. I'll just start by saying
I've heard wonderful things about Kauai. We have not been, I don't think. Did we stop on the one time we did the Hawaii cruise on a Celebrity Bride? I don't remember if we stopped
Stop
at
where?
Kauai.
No, we stopped at Hilo, Honolulu. I feel like we stopped somewhere in Maui. We may have actually stopped in Kauai. We might have. You know what I can do is I can go look on the cruise globe and find out.
the port is called Nawili Wili, if that sounds familiar.
That does sound familiar, actually.
So we got our shuttle or to the car rental agency like we did last year. But last year we had an overnight in Kauai. And this year I was like, oh, we're definitely not going to be able to do as much, but I'd like to do as much as possible because it's like our favorite island. And we have we just love Honolulu, and there's a couple places that we love to eat up there and eat along the way. And as we were driving, and our friend had never been there.
Yeah.
And as we were driving there, I pointed out, I said, oh, there's an overlook here that's a great spot for photos. And on the way back, it came upon me so fast that I didn't have time to pull over. I just wasn't thinking, oh, it's right here. So I did a U-turn. We went back. We got some photos. We got back on the road, driving toward the ship. Got to make one last stop for, our second shave ice of the day.
Second shave ice is very important.
And may have lived to regret that because we ended up being late back to the ship.
Ooh. Was there a pier run?
I know. What's that?
Was there a
Is there
pier
a run?
Yeah, was there a run down the pier?
There might be video of me running. I haven't searched for it. Yeah, so we apparently were not the only people that were late. There were a bunch of things that just kind of stumbled us into, one fall after another, making us late. There was a hope that we would not be late, and that hope kind of dwindled. Anyway, there was another family that apparently showed up after us. Our Uber driver did not drop us off at the gate. He drove us like half a block away from the ship and dropped us off there. Because technically, that's where you're supposed to drop people off. The other Uber driver for the other family dropped them off literally at the gate to the ship. So they were able to get on sooner, even though they showed up after us. And a couple people told me that there was a tour bus that was late. However, so that would make sense why they
held the ship.
Although Florida did call me twice to ask how much longer we were going to be.
Well, yeah, because so here's the thing. So this is actually good for people to hear. Like some ports, they can't hold the ship at all. Like they have to get out the port, right? Like the port makes them leave, right? And some ports, they can stay a little bit longer. They have a little bit of wiggle room, but generally not necessarily a ton unless there's like an emergency. And of course, if in an emergency, the port will figure stuff out. But if somebody's late, that's not considered an emergency. And the port charges the ship like fees for, I don't know if it's every minute they're late but it's
we've heard that they fine them for each minute they stay in port. Because, I mean, look, if you think about it, port operations staff has to stay beyond what they were scheduled for. And so, yeah, they're basically finding the cruise company to pay for that. So, yeah.
Right. Now there is some wiggle room in that. I'm not trying to tell people like you should be at the ship before all aboard time. So don't
you should be
take
at the
this
ship
as
15 minutes. We'll cover this on the etiquette, the live etiquette show
we're
we're
gonna
doing
do a
on
live
Monday.
etiquette.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're recording this before the live etiquette show, but this show will come out in a couple of months. But yeah, you should be there. Yeah, you should schedule yourself to be there well in advance of that all aboard time. But if you're there at all aboard time or even within probably 10 or 15 minutes of all aboard time, you're going to make the ship because it takes some time for them to, pack everything up and actually leave. But those gangways do come up eventually. So even if the ship is technically still tied to the port, if those gangways are up, you may not be getting on that ship because they're probably not putting the gangways back out just for you. And then that means you're having to transport yourself to the next port of call. Now, when you're in Hawaii,
or find Marge in her boat and start chasing down the
yeah.
Disney Wonder.
Marges.
Yeah.
Barges, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if you are in Hawaii, at least the islands are close to one another, and there is opportunity for you to pay for someone who has a boat, or you can, hop interferry, inter-island transport. So it is probably easier than a lot of places to catch up with the ship, but not till the next day because they're not.
And that was, we were not keeping that in account as we were moving throughout our day. Like our plan, I knew that we would not be back in time to catch the last shuttle from the rental agency because they stop the shuttles well an an hour before the boat takes off. And I was hoping to get back like 30 to 45 minutes before the boat took off. That's typically we try to get back an hour before the boat leaves.
But you had a lot of stuff you wanted to do, and you wanted to get shave ice twice. I get it, Carin. Listen,
the island we love, but
I know I sympathize, but not again. Don't do it again.
No. I would never recommend that people take the chance of that. But yeah, my friend was like, it's okay. We can get a flight to the next island and get a hotel for the night. We both were like, the ship is not waiting. We are not counting on the ship to be waiting. We got lucky that the ship was waiting. And I would highly recommend that everyone not be a Carin.
Don't be a Carin. Listen, Carin spells her name with a C, not with a K. So but don't be that girl.
Don't be late back to the ship. If you're used to seeing crew members that are welcoming and happy to see you, you're not going to see that the day.
And then passengers, if they recognize you on board, they're going to be like, you were the ones who were late.
To de-stress, Malcolm and I went straight to the hot tub, and we were pounced upon by the people that had been cheering us on as we ran to get back to the ship.
Oh, well, I'm glad that you made it back on. I'm glad you didn't have to figure out the plans. I mean, at least you had cell service and your internet was working and all those things. So you could have.
We had our passport cards with us, so we could have flown because Malcolm doesn't have a real ID. He just has his passport card. So when you factor in all these things that had to align, we were in a good position to pull it all back together, but luckily we didn't have to.
Right. Well, and you would have been wearing the same underwear the next day too.
No, I would have been wearing the same swimsuit after being in the ocean all day. Oh, no.
Oh, swimsuit all day. No. And sleeping. Oh, no. No, thank you.
I would love to do an episode with somebody who was a pure runner who didn't make it just to find out what happened. Yeah. We can protect your identity if we need to. It can be embarrassing, but
we'll put you we'll have you like in the shadows with one of those,
those voice boxes.
Yeah, exactly. We'll like blur you or something like that to protect your identity. But yeah, no, if you are a peer runner who didn't make it, reach out to us and we will try and get you recorded on a show. All right. Well, Carin, you had a couple more port stops. I just want to hit the port stops before we close out this show because this is like these two cruises are such epic cruises. Like I said, each one of these could be multiple episodes, but we want to hit the highlights, of course.
So in Maui, we again knew we were just going to do beach days on most of these port stops. So grabbed our rental car, picked McKenna Beach. If you're familiar with, I think is that the east coast of Maui. It's the west coast. I think it's the west coast of Maui. Anyway, so we hit McKenna and just hopped from beach to beach up that side of the island. McKenna Beach apparently is notorious for having really big crashing waves. We watched several people just get slammed and need assistance getting out of the water. And I thought we were doing fine until a wave caught me and I was literally doing somersaults underwater.
Oh my God. People don't realize like the Pacific Ocean, she's a mean one. Like she doesn't play. Like you got to have your wits about you. If you get slammed by a wave that you're not expecting, or even if you're expecting, but it can be rough.
For the rest of the day, anytime I looked down, sand would fall out of my hair.
Yeah.
And that was after me trying to get it out of my hair, in the showers and stuff at the beaches. But we hit several other beaches that were much more calm, traveling back up the coast before heading back to the ship. Especially in Kihei, there were some really great beaches there that would be good for families. Really shallow, calm waters, very clear. I saw lots of kids snorkeling. We didn't have snorkeling gear with us. Shave ice was had. Great fish tacos were had. If you've ever been to Kihei, the South Maui fish tacos, it's a food truck. Highly recommend. And then let's see, our last stop was in Hilo. The volcano there had been erupting. It's erupted more than 30 times this year alone. The day before we got there, it was erupting. So my plan had been to drive south past the volcano to a black sand beach where I was hoping we could swim with turtles. And I thought, after already being late once on this cruise, do I want to chance it that something would happen with this volcano that's been really active? Nope, I don't think I do. So we headed north up the east coast of the Big Island. And it was absolutely gorgeous. There were a couple options where there were scenic drives that we could hop on. So we did those, saw some really beautiful views, came on the way back down, stopped at a gulch that was magnificent. And we kind of had it all to ourselves. There were a couple local people that were there fishing and, had their dogs out playing. It was really, really relaxing. And then, I would say that the shuttle driver, because in Hilo, Disney or maybe the port of Hilo provides a shuttle that will take you from the port to the rental agency. They don't do that in Maui. They don't do that in Honolulu. The shuttle driver is the same guy that I had last year. He gives the best tips. So if you listen, you will hear things that will serve you well throughout the day. He talked to us about, where the police like to sit, talked to us about do not go over the speed limit. The police cars there don't look like the police cars we're used to seeing. That definitely helped later in the day. Not that I was going over the speed limit, but just that I was aware, that's definitely a police officer following me. He was also the one that told us about the scenic drive if we headed north up the coast. I wouldn't have known that would be scenic.
You can get some great tips from locals. I feel like in general, like wherever you are in Hawaii, like ask the locals where to eat, ask the locals what beaches they go to, right? Like you'll get some really off the beaten path spots that are not crowded and full of tourists and really great food and really great shave ice, all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
And one of the other recommendations he had was that if you have time on your way back to drop off your car, there's like a 4-mile road that goes past the cruise ship down south of where the cruise is docked. And it's 4 miles. And when you get to the end of that 4-mile road, there's a beach there. And you can sometimes see turtles there. So we had been to that same beach because he had recommended it last year. We'd been to it last year, didn't get in the water because you have to walk on volcanic rock to get in the water, and we didn't bring our water shoes last year. So this year we came with water shoes. As we were walking in, there were 2 giant sea turtles just munching away on the algae right there as you could walk into the water. I was so happy because I didn't expect that they would be there. I thought we'd have to go to this other beach that is much more well known. There was a local family there with their grandmas, and they were saying, yeah, there were like 13 or 14 turtles here when we got here that were just munching away. And by the time we got there were 2 left, and they departed soon after. They were kind of done with their lunch. But
oh my God, that's so cool though. And to get to see them so close and like so close to land too. That's awesome, Carin. Oh my God. Well, sounds like an incredible trip to Hawaii. Now, did you guys go back to Honolulu to end and to debark? Yeah. Did you stay, I don't know, maybe a place called Aulani in Hawaii after, or did you head home right after the cruise?
We actually stayed in Waikiki at the Haleakala, but we did make a trip out to Aulani for the day. Unfortunately, we waited until the last day to go to Aulani, and Malcolm has made it very clear that the next time we go to Waikiki or Honolulu, he wants to stay. He wants to sleep at Aulani, not just visit Aulani.
Well, and Malcolm is right, because the one thing about Aulani is beautiful, and you can walk around the lobby and you can go to the shops, of course, without being a guest, but you can't use the pools and the lazy river. And I mean, you could eat at the restaurants, but you can't really hang out there unless you're a guest. They do wristbands at the pool. So every day you're there, if you're a guest, you go to this little like hut thing, and you actually have to scan your key card, and they give you your wristband for the pool for that day. And it's a different color every single day. And they give you your towels as well. And so if you're not a guest, or I mean, like, technically you could, if you have a friend who's staying at Aulani, they've got to even add you to their room in order to get you a wristband, because they know how many people are registered to the room. And so that's how many wristbands they're going to be giving out. So yeah, they can actually sort of even do that check. But yeah, I'm with Malcolm. You got to take him to Aulani. You've been to Honolulu too many times to not have stayed there yet, Carin. So
And this was our third time visiting Aulani. So he's like, 3 times is enough. Next time,
yeah, that's enough, Mom. That's enough. I'm with Malcolm. Come on.
But unfortunately, so we were in Honolulu for the weekend, and it was gorgeous, beautiful, perfect weather until that day that we went to Aulani. It was pouring down rain the entire day. And I was really hopeful as we were driving there that, it's Hawaii. It's going to rain for an hour. It's going to rain for 10 minutes. It's going to be different weather on that side of the island. No, 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 no. It was pouring down rain. So we did have lunch there. We bought so much merchandise there. The shops had really fun things.
They do. They have really cool. There's like 3 shops at Aulani, 2 real shops, and then there's one little, like, I'll call it a surf shop by the pool, like, that has some additional things, but it's mostly like some a couple of swim shirts and some flip flops and some goggles and sunscreen. It's mostly like just the stuff you might need for while you're at the pool. Whereas the 2 shops in the main building are like the shops, and one is like the sort of generic gift shop that's got all the Aulani swag. And then there's the one that's kind of the higher end stuff that might have like Dooney's and Tori Richards clothing and things like that are, Hawaii and Aulani brand. It's so, yeah, really, we're going there for Christmas. This episode will be out in, I believe, January, but we'll be there for Christmas. And I told Brian, because he asked me, what do I want for Christmas this year? And I have nothing on my list, but he told him, don't worry, honey, I will spend plenty of money in the gift shop at Aulani. You don't need to get me anything.
I don't know that I actually agreed to that.
No, I know you haven't yet agreed to it, but I told you you don't need to buy me anything because I already know I'm going to spend a lot of money at the shops.
You were a size 7 night Eastern Caribbean.
I mean, you already got me one of those for next year, so.
And the year after that, come to think of it. So there's
yeah, exactly. So, well, Carin, okay, we're gonna jump over to a little rapid fire. I'm gonna give an abbreviated rapid fire.
Not without the intro. You can't do it rapid fire without the intro, because Carin, I think we have reached that point in the show where it's time to hand you back over to Sam for some arbitrary questions, some arbitrary rules, and a dash of judgment on the round we know as rapid fire. All right, now Sam, you can take it.
All right. Carin, you have 37 Disney cruises under your belt with more on tap. And so I'm going to give you an abbreviated rapid fire round, but I want to ask some updated Disney Cruise Line favorites, because the last time we talked to you, you of course hadn't been on the Treasure yet. And, there's some differences. There's some different options you can choose now for things. So I'm going to jump right to what I don't think is I don't know. It's the most important Sam question. It might not be the most important question, but it's the most important Sam question, which is, what is your favorite Disney Cruise Line stage show now?
Oh, Sam. I didn't realize. I always thought it was Frozen until I went on the Treasure and saw Beauty and the Beast. Again, like I've seen it so many times. And then when we were on the Dream in August, or I guess it was September by the time we got on the Dream, they couldn't do Beauty and the Beast. I was so bummed because so I actually like Beauty and the Beast more than Moana. I'm shocked.
Listen, I think it's a
we're just
really
gonna wrap
tough
it up there.
call.
We're gonna wrap it up there, right, Sam?
No, I actually I don't think if you answer Beauty and the Beast, that's not a wrong answer. That is absolutely not a wrong answer. Like I think it's such a close call. That's why The Treasure has the best show lineup, because it's such a close call between Tale of Moana and Beauty and the Beast. Those are clearly, I think, the best. I mean, Frozen is wonderful. Tangled is wonderful. Those both get honorable mention. But like, yeah, it's Beauty and the Beast and Tale of Moana is just those are the two best I don't know if they're tied for number one or which one's number one. It's both fantastic. The puppetry, you can't go wrong. Okay. All right. Well, moving on to another important question: favorite rotational dining.
Oh, rotational dining of the whole
across the whole fleet. Yeah.
Ooh, if I could pick anywhere to go for dinner, I really like Triton's.
Oh, hot take. All right. Do you want the Chateaubriand there? Is that why?
I do.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good pick.
And then there is also really good. The lamb.
I got to give a shout out to the salmon on night 2 in Marvel and on the Treasure. I know that sounds like a weird thing to say because people are not like huge fans of the Marvel restaurant. I think overall, nobody generally picks that as their favorite, but that dish is just banger. I got to say, it's just so good.
I think the people of Seattle are going to run you out of town, Sam. I'm recommending
a salmon.
Probably what is frozen Atlantic salmon on board.
I'm sure it's Atlantic salmon.
Quote unquote banger of a dish.
It's a banger of a dish. I'm telling you, it's so good.
Marvel was surprisingly good on the fantasy. On the Treasure.
Yeah. Oh, good. All right. I gotta ask, favorite itinerary now. You've gone on so many cool itineraries, Carin.
The one that I liked more than I expected to like, I would say, was the repositioning cruise from Barcelona to Southampton. It stopped in Vigo and A Coruña and Lisbon. And I say that after having done Hawaii 2 years in a row. So that Hawaii sailing, if you can get on it, go for it. It is fantastic.
Oh, I want to go. I love that. Yeah. And she's probably, we don't know if she's going to do Hawaii yet when she's not. She probably will do Hawaii before she starts the San Diego season. I just don't think I can't remember if it's out on the next schedule or not. But yeah, I don't think it is because obviously we know the ship's not going back to New Zealand and Australia. But if it reverts back to what it was doing before, it would still do that Hawaii sailing. It would just do a sailing to Hawaii and then a sailing back from Hawaii, but from
Vancouver. It should be on the schedule, shouldn't it? Because it goes out to May of 2027. This is their last. This is going to be their last season in Australia.
Yeah, but they haven't released the Alaska stuff yet, right? So they released up to they basically released.
Oh, I think they actually have released up to Vancouver.
Oh, you're right.
For Disney's Hawaii cruises, they leave out of Vancouver, so it still could be added before the Alaska sailing.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Okay, fingers crossed. We're going to cross our fingers that they're going to revert to doing it again.
But if they have 2026 out, Sam, because she's leaving now, so she has to come back, right?
Right.
So they go out to 2027. So you would know whether they were sending the ship back to Hawaii in 2026 at the end of the season.
Yeah, and they're not, I don't think, at the end of the 2026 season, but they might, but I think they used to do that only once a year. They'd only do it either the beginning or the end of the season. They didn't do it twice. They didn't do it at the beginning and the end of the season. They would just do it I can't remember if they would do it at the beginning of the season I think it was at the beginning of the season, but I can't remember.
Yeah, I'm just looking on the website now to see if I search for Hawaii sailings, what pops up.
I think the very last one is February of 26.
That is right. February 16th to 26th, which means that they would have it on there already they would have it going out and back already at the end of 2026, beginning of 2027, and they do not, Sam. So This may be the last Hawaii sailing for quite some time.
Well, we don't know. They could still do it at the end of the season. They don't have to do it at the beginning of the season.
No,
Let's
no, but
put
I'm
it
saying
that
they have both. They have both parts already out on their website. Sam, you're not understanding me. So they go all the way out through 2027. So the ship would normally head back out to Hawaii, and this time in October 2026, there's no sailing there, and they already have February of 2027 out, and there's no sailing there.
So the soonest it could be is September of 27. So it's going to be a good long while.
Well, it could be in May of 27 though, because it could be before the Alaska season, right? That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
But they already have that, Sam. They already
You don't
have.
not
they have-
2027.
Yep, they have departing out to May of 2027.
Where they land in Vancouver, right? So they could add it after that.
They could, but yeah, I think with the new ship positioning on the West Coast, they may just not sail to Hawaii much. I think that was really just kind of a Pacific stop for them to get people to get the ship reprovisioned on its way to Australia. So.
Yes and no, Brian. The only reason I say yes and no is because before they ever used to go to Australia and New Zealand, they would do one sailing it would usually, I can't remember if it was in order to reposition the ship.
Usually started after we started. So they haven't always done Hawaii.
Sure, but it was, I'm saying for several years they did a repositioning. Before they'd reposition the ship between San Diego and Vancouver, they would do one sailing to Hawaii.
And for several years they sailed out of New Orleans, and they haven't done that forever.
Right.
So.
Fair. Okay,
In
fair.
fact, New Orleans is no longer even on their ports on their side.
I know. Very, very sad. Okay. All right. The most important, this has not been a very rapid fire. Let me, sorry for those listening.
I blame you, Sam. I blame you.
Hey, this is probably the most important question in most people's mind, which is your favorite ship now. You've sailed on all 6. You have sailed many times on all of them. You might have a favorite class or a favorite ship, but which one is it, Carin?
Oh gosh. Okay. So the Treasure is unbelievable. It is beautiful. It's a beautiful, beautiful ship. And it's so great to be on it for 7 days and not have to do 2 muster drills to get a 7-day cruise. Before we sailed on the Treasure, I was Wonder all the way. Wonder was always my favorite. The crew on the Wonder cannot be beat. And these past 2 cruises, I still believe it's the best crew in the fleet. But if someone said I can pick a cruise, I would probably pick to go on the Treasure.
Wow. That's high praise. Like I feel the same way, Carin. I think it's between the Wonder and the Treasure for me. If I have to pick tomorrow, I'm probably picking the Treasure. But if I could get the crew of the Wonder on the Treasure, right? Like if I could merge the two in some way, like I would be happy to be on either of those 2 ships tomorrow. Absolutely. Okay, my last question: bucket list cruise. I mean, you've been on a ton of bucket list cruises for a lot of people, but what's on the bucket list? Meaning, what have you not hit that you really want to get to?
So we've got it scheduled. I might be postponing it now that it looks like the Wish is going over to Europe. We've done the transatlantic eastbound, and I really want to do it westbound because I don't like losing hours of sleep. I like gaining hours of sleep. So westbound it is.
All right. Well, but you don't want to do it on the Wish.
No, I do want to do it on the Wish.
Oh, okay. I see. You're saying because instead of going, so the Dream is scheduled for next summer to do the European season. We have predicted, and I know it to be true, not because of any insider information, but because it's the only thing that makes sense from the schedule. And then has been confirmed because she's showing up on the Athens port schedule. The Wish is showing up on that schedule. Now, ports can change, so, take that with a grain of salt. But yeah, she's going to Europe. Like it's a done deal.
Take it with a grain of salt, but it's done.
No, I mean the port of Athens.
I'm not saying never, but I'm saying never.
No,
yeah.
I'm saying the Athens thing is a grain of salt because you just don't, their ports can change. But she's going to Europe. Like that confirms it for me, and I mean, like I said, I already felt like that had to be true based on the schedule. But yeah, that would be a fantastic to be able to sail on a Wish class ship back from Europe. Yeah, that's awesome.
So we have it booked on the Dream for next year. And we might go ahead and do it 2 years in a row. I don't think they're going to send the Wish more than 1 year in a row. Like, I think it's just going that 1 year, and the next year it will stay in Port Canaveral. So I don't want to miss the opportunity to do it on a Triton class ship.
Yeah. Well, and that's a good point. We don't know. Yeah. We don't know what the future will bring as far as what class will go across for after the Wish goes. We don't know if the Wish will go back. We don't know if maybe the Destiny will, or of course, the next ship of the Wish class, the Treasure. Like, there's going to be a rotation when the Wish comes back, from Europe, and we'll see what things, what gets moved around where.
All right, Sam, I'm gonna butt in here and ask the absolute most important question, which is what's next, Carin? What have you got?
Yeah.
Well, I am sailing with both of you on the Destiny, doing a back-to-back in November. We'll be boarding on the maiden voyage and staying on for Thanksgiving.
Fantastic. So you'll be on with us for 2 cruises then, Carin. I love that.
We'll be the people shoving a microphone in your face and asking you all about how your cruise is going.
Yeah.
Well, Carin, it's been delightful catching up with you, and what an amazing pair of cruises that you did, and what an amazing set, cruises you have in front of you as well. So just want to say thank you so much for taking some time out of your weekend to come and share these cruises with our audience. We super appreciate it.
Definitely. It's fun to connect with you anytime.
Well, thanks to everyone out there for listening this week. We really, really appreciate it. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you can keep getting great content from us every week. In fact, twice a week we publish shows. So be sure to hit the subscribe button to get all of those great episodes. And if you want to watch us live, we have a live show now every week, Monday nights, 5:30 p.m. Pacific, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, over on youtube.com/DCL Duo. So be sure to head over and check that out. If you want to help support the show, be sure to hit those 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. And if you leave us a written review, a 5-star written review, we will read it at the top of one of our main episodes. So please head over there and hit those 5 stars. Of course, you can also help support the show by supporting our fabulous show sponsor, My Path Unwinding Travel. If you want to book your next Disney vacation, head over to mypathunwinding.com/DCL Duo, or email them at dclduo@mypathunwinding.com so they know we sent you their way. If you've got questions or you'd like to connect with us, the best way to do that is to head over to dclduo.com. It's got links to all of our things, full catalog of the podcast episodes, including a searchable catalog for the podcast, links off to our vlog, a link to our Etsy store where we sell some fun fan-inspired magnets, link to our Patreon if you'd like to help directly support the show each and every month. Just head over to the website or patreon.com/DCL Duo. Also has a way for you to sign up for our Substack newsletter that we're hoping to start really pumping out monthly here at least, and a few blog articles that we've written. So dclduo.com is the best way to connect with us. You can also, of course, email us at info@dclduo.com or reach out to us on our voicemail line at 402-413-5590. That's 402-413-5590. The DCL Duo Podcast is not affiliated with Disney Cruise Line, the Disney Company, or the Disney family of theme parks. The views expressed on the show are solely those of the individuals on the podcast and in no way reflect the views of the Disney Company or Disney Cruise Line. If you have questions about a Disney cruise or a Disney vacation, please contact the great folks over at My Path Unwinding Travel or Disney directly, or your own travel agent. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time for another fabulous adventure with the DCL Duo. Good night.